it.
Scubbity boom boom. Scubbity doo. Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Do you actually want unbiased news? 844-967-2789. If you're being honest with yourself, do you really want unbiased news? Totally unbiased news? Because I read an article that kind of makes the argument that that's not what Americans actually want when it comes down to it. This is an article from Vox that says exactly that. Do Americans really want, quote, unbiased news? And it brings this up because CNN and The Messenger both say that they're chasing the middle. And the article argues that that may not be a great business model. And it's arguing that because there's not a lot of proof that as a medium that news is doing that great, just straight unbiased news. And the first point being, Americans don't consume that much news. And I think it's weird because we live in this bubble where we consume so much news.
So much, yes.
And I'm probably asking the wrong people who listen to this show. I do want your answer. Do you want unbiased news? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. But I also understand that the people who listen to this show may not be or the Civic Media Network in general, may not be the best cross-section of Americans in general when it comes to news consumption. But I think it's an interesting question because this is basically saying that the audience for news delivered by newspapers and TV sets has been in decline for years.
Right.
Which we know,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And it drops. I mean, those drops preceded even the internet. And, but obviously then with the internet, it has sped up. But for someone like CNN, it's also interesting. I feel like something like Messenger, which I haven't heard of before I started worrying about this. But it's new. Messenger has been a source of fascination for media circles for months, in large part because the company has been hiring journalists at a rapid clip. So at least I feel like with something new like Messenger, maybe you can start fresh and say, hey, we are unbiased and that is our mission. That is our goal. CNN has a bigger hill to climb because I'm not sure they've been thought of as unbiased for a while. But now with the new leadership and new direction, they're trying to do that. So that's two different
things.
Two different hills to climb.
Yep.
But, when CNN first pioneered always on cable in 1980. Wow, I'm surprised. 1980. CNN's been on for a while. But, and they quickly realized that when viewers would tune in, it was usually when something big was happening. It was a war. It was 9/11. It was something where people were like, what is happening? But generally tuned out between those big events. And so one way to solve that was to position yourself as an advocacy network for either liberals or conservatives. And we still see this as far as even more so the niche of who are you talking to and who are you catering your articles and your stories and your topics to.
Sure.
With the internet. I think about one of the sites I check a lot that I would have to imagine that probably none of our other the other hosts of other shows.
Oh, let me guess.
Which one?
Jezebel.
Yes. But Jezebel is it's politics, it's pop culture, but it's all female writers.
Yep.
It's got comedy. It's got a slant that's very much for this show. And for me, and I've been reading that site since 2010,
wow.
2011. But they know who they're talking to. And I think that's the same thing with cable news. Who are you talking to? Because with the news, it's written in a way that it's talking to everybody and it is objective, and often being purely objective, not that entertaining.
Well, look at Fox's entire business
Oh,
model.
yeah. Yeah.
We're
And
just going to feed them what they want. We're just going to give them all ice cream. They want ice cream. We're going to give them the conspiracy theory ice cream because they lap it up.
And so I guess my question, and it's a similar but different question that we've had previously. I think previously we were asking, where do you get your news from? And we got a bunch of people calling in, giving different suggestions, things I hadn't heard before, a lot of independent sites. And I would imagine that with those outlets or those people that you're getting your news from, you also trust them. But it's slightly different question as far as do you want your news with a little opinion added on top? And I think about it for myself as far as I have those people that I trust. Unlike the bigger things, so like investigate, like the things I'm not going to sit down and like I'm going to watch the whole thing or I'm going to read the whole report, and simply because of time or whatever, right? And so you start to trust the people who are going to do that, and then they're
read all the articles.
the people who do the live tweet threads.
Yes.
Of like, this is the interpretation of my interpretation of what's happening in this oversight hearing committee thing. Or I read the entire Mueller report. Here is what it said. Or here are the big takeaways. Like the people who sum it up for you so that you don't have to spend the time to do go watch or read the entire thing.
Right.
And so you pick the people who do that for you. And some of them are truly do it in an unbiased way. But are you gonna be totally honest that you don't follow some people who do those things and they're like a little biased?
I feel they might agree with me.
Well, what do you think, Jane?
It's a tricky slope. It's a tricky slope. You have to tell people things sometimes they don't want to hear. That's what news is. And that's just the brutal truth of it. And trying to treat everything equally. I just saw this on Twitter late last night, and this is related to education, but they were talking about teachers in colleges dealing with people who deny that the Holocaust happened and how to handle that in a classroom. And this one guy said, well, don't you have to give equal time to people who believe that, even though they might be wrong? No. The Holocaust happened. Millions and millions of people were murdered.
Yeah.
So that's where I think
it goes back to your thing you always say is like, there's gravity.
Gravity exists, people. It does. It's just a fact. And I don't think facts have bias.
Yes. Facts don't have bias. Interpretation has bias.
Yes.
Limitations of facts, of there's only so much news we have, there's only so many facts we have so far. And there is always the option that there could be more facts to find. But I think as soon as you said that, Jane, I was thinking about the fact that I think 2 weeks ago when we talked to Sarah Gagnon, who was one of the creators of the game and this was a game for middle schoolers about learning how to be a journalist. And like the entire concept of the game is to build trust and find facts and have to like get information and understand that a story is always evolving. And that by the time you have to hit your deadline, it's not that the story is over.
Right.
It's just once it gets published.
Right.
And so I don't know.
844-967-2789. 844-96-PARTY. Do you want unbiased news? Tom from Nakusa is joining us. Hey, Tom, what do you want to say?
I want to say I want my news biased and towards the left because the major news networks now give equal weight to statements from both sides. And we know that they're just trying to keep the conservatives there. But one side is trying to burn books, one side is trying to take over education, and they're giving equal weight to both sides of an argument when they shouldn't. When they should be journalists and question a lot more than they really are. So I don't really watch mainstream news, but
Well, and
that's the way I find it.
yeah, and unfortunately, Tom, as Kristen pointed out, it's not necessarily the journalists who are making these decisions. It's the people who are over these journalists who are telling them, this is how I want you to cover this.
That's absolutely true. I used to love listening to Rachel Maddow when she was on Air America, and now I won't watch anything she says.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
You didn't like her? You didn't like her MSNBC show?
no, that's totally biased.
Oh, interesting.
Well, she makes $30,000 a day. So.
I know. When I found out how much she makes, I was like, I wonder if I'll ever be able to make a fraction of that doing this. Well, Tom, you got a big Memorial Day weekend planned?
No, I got to work.
You got to work
part-time. I'm retired, but I work part-time. So.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. Oh,
and enjoy the weekend, Tom. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. You can check into 844-967-2789, 844-96-party. You can text and or call if you like.
But when we come back, it's also a little different, at least on polling and surveying of who thinks the news is super biased. So we'll talk about that a little bit more when we come back. But would love to hear from you. If you're being honest with yourself, do you want your news unbiased? Or do you tend to follow the people who you kind of already agree with? 844-967-2789. This is As Goes Wisconsin. We'll be right back.
It's time to have some fun and make a difference, Waukesha County. Attend the 2023 Habitat for Humanity of Waukesha Dream Builders Gala on June 9th at 6 p.m. in the Domenica Park neighborhood. Help celebrate the accomplishments of last year while helping to create, preserve, and promote affordable housing in our area. Enjoy an upscale barbecue, live entertainment, and the chance to make a real difference in the lives of local families. Register now at habitatwaukesha.org/events. That's habitatwaukesha.org/events. Let's build a brighter future together.
If you love to spend time in the kitchen, elevate your cooking game with a pantry full of premium hemp products from Mary Jane's Hemp Shop in Waukesha. Mary Jane sells flights of Himalayan sea salts, raw sugar flights, local raw honey, and just in time for summer, a variety of salt rubs for meat and grilling. Not sure how to use the products in your own kitchen? Check out Mary Jane's YouTube channel for ideas and recipes. Elevate your cooking game at Mary Jane's Hemp Shop, 335 West Main Street, Waukesha, or online at maryjanespantry.shop.
Wow One Day Painting will celebrate Memorial Day thinking of the brave servicemen and servicewomen who died defending our country. Memorial Day is for them. Wow One Day Painting is a team of professional painters who can transform your home in just one day. Log on wowOneDay.com.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 69. East winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Mainly clear tonight. Lows dip down to about 42. Ample sunshine expected tomorrow. Highs level off around 74. Upper 70s Sunday. Warmer on Monday with highs in the upper 70s. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Hyde.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair, and we are just counting down till the long weekend.
For most of us.
What do you mean for most of us?
Tom has to work.
Well, Tom
on
has
Monday.
to work. Yes, Tom. I'm sorry you have to work, and other people definitely. Sure, anyone working in the service industry is working this
You
weekend.
bet.
A lot of people are working, and obviously anyone who's doing any of the organization for all of the Memorial Day events that are happening, both
Yes.
fun events, also events memorializing those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. I'm sure this is all of the thousands of flags they put up over at the
cemeteries.
the cemeteries and everything. And so yes, you're right. Not everyone gets off. But it was funny planning for today's show because I read that yesterday, not today, is expected to be the biggest travel day of the year.
People getting one day jump
One day
ahead of
jump and
everybody,
taking a
yeah.
4-day weekend instead. And so between driving and or flying, so I was like, I wonder what our engagement will be like today. So how many people who are already checked out for the week.
Yep.
But if
Heading
you're
up to
out
the cabin up north.
if you're out there and you're listening live, shoot us a text just to say hi, 844-967-2789, or to answer the question, if you're being honest, do you actually want unbiased, middle of the road news? 844-96-PARTY. We have a message on the Facebook live stream from our friend Joe McClear. Of course, I want my news biased because I want it based in reality. And as the great thinker of our time, Stephen Colbert, so astutely said, it is a well-known fact that reality has a liberal bias.
And who is going to argue with Stephen Colbert?
I mean, I would never. He's a very smart man.
Yes, he is a very smart man.
His memory and the things that I remember watching an interview of him once, just like saying sonnets and rap lyrics by memory. And it was that moment. I was like, I can barely remember some of my cousins' names. And like, that's even that because he's one of 9, I think. And the way he lists off all his siblings' names in order, which should be expected. But even some people, I think, with a lot of siblings, I feel like we should the next time we get Charlie Barron's on the show, we'll see how quickly he can name off all 11 of his siblings, since he's one of 12.
He is?
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know he was one
Oh
of
yeah,
12.
he's a baker's dozen.
Wow.
And I think he's the second oldest.
Wow.
Yeah. Big family. A lot of Barons running around.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. If you want to let us know, do you want your news with a little bias? Our friend Dave in the Shaw joining us. Hey, Dave, what do you think?
Hey, so I wanted to share a little bit about what our parent group here in Waukesha, the Alliance for Education, we've gotten a lot of media coverage in the last couple of years with school board stuff. And so I've had a lot of interaction with media in the last 2.5 years or whatever. And it seems like the print media, particularly newspapers, are the ones that are most interested in telling a really neutral story. So it seems like, television, they're looking for like the clicks or the views or the simple stuff. They just want the overview. But the print media in particular, like the Journal Sentinel, Washington Post, Boston Globe, those folks just seem really interested in telling as full of a story from as neutral perspective as possible. And so I really appreciate their approach. I don't like being told what I don't want to hear, but I appreciate that perspective nonetheless.
That's a really interesting perspective to have, to be on the other side of fielding media requests and hearing how thorough the questions are from different journalists or the contact points from your guys' point of view, especially because it's been, I mean, as you said, it was school lunches. It's obviously been everything that was happening with Rainbow Land. Here's my question. Since TMZ picked up that story, how thorough was TMZ?
All of those, I just avoid altogether.
Okay.
But you make a good point, Tom, in that, but newspapers have the luxury of being able to do an in-depth, long-form piece.
Yes.
And I certainly agree with you about TV. They're looking for the emotion that's going to get the click. So where's the angle that will trigger how people feel about something? Because I would think that that's going to be more of their focus because they can't take the time. I mean, they could take the time, but they're
Right,
not
they're-
going to. They're not going to do a big investigative piece. Most of them don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think theirs are always like a 30-second or a minute bit on whatever's happening, and then the newspapers, they're telling an 8 or 10 minute read, and that's I just have such an appreciation for newspapers.
Me too.
Not that
Me
I don't
too.
appreciate the television or radio or whomever else covering whatever. It's just newspapers just tell such a great story.
I totally agree.
And that's a great plug for subscriptions, Tom.
Yes. Dave.
Or Dave, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dave, have a great long
Yeah.
weekend. Thank you for. Oh, you got something more?
Oh, I was just going to say, happy Memorial Day. Thanks to all the vets out there. Thanks to those that have given their families, in particular those Gold Star families, and yeah, happy Memorial Day weekend.
Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks a lot,
Dave.
Dave.
Thanks so much.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting point to be on the other side of it from Dave's perspective, as far as it's one thing to read it and try to vet out what coverage you like consuming. It's another thing to be interested to see how your story gets told.
Definitely.
And who told it in what way, especially again and again and again. Because he's not kidding. I mean, that was 2 years ago. The Alliance for Education was still, they were at the front lines of when the Waukesha School Board was like, we don't need free lunch. We don't need these kids to have handouts. And that made national news. And so they were fielding all of that as well. So, all right, well, we're going to keep, there's people out there.
There are people out there who have not left town yet.
There's people who are listening who would like to engage. So we're going to keep this topic going. And actually, I have a quick story as far as bias and impartiality, because I got a DM yesterday from someone who was very angry about me being biased. And I said, that I'm an opinion contributor, right?
Oh, goody. I can't wait.
This is As Goes Wisconsin. We'll be right back.
From Waukesha, broadcasting to the world on the Civic Media app. This is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News Brief. Parades, pools, parties for the unofficial start of summer.
Florida for a bachelorette trip. We're going to spend a lot of time by the pool, a lot of margaritas.
AAA expects more than 40 million of us will hit the road or airport for the 3-day weekend. CBS's Nancy Cordes reports there's some optimism on a deal on raising the debt ceiling can be worked out.
Republicans will be able to say they cut domestic spending. Democrats will be able to say it's all a wash. And this is the way the game gets played.
No deal as of yet. A key inflation index shows prices rose a fraction from March to April. CBS's Jill Schlesinger.
Prices for goods and services continue to accelerate on an annual basis. Goods prices are up by 2.1%, services up by a hot 5.5%.
A month after buying First Republic Bank after it failed, J.P. Morgan Chase is laying off 1,000 of the bank's employees. CBS News Brief. I'm Steve Kafin.
Continue the conversation online. Find and follow Civic Media on Facebook and on Twitter.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair. Here's what you need to know. Home sales are down in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Realtors Association says existing home sales in April are down 32.5% compared to last year, largely due to a lack of inventory. And that means it remains a seller's market, with buyers facing plenty of competition and high prices. In order to get back to a more balanced state, Wisconsin would have to add 21,000 listings, more than double the number that are currently for sale. If you're going to be visiting state parks in Wisconsin this weekend, you may want to stop at less popular destinations. The DNR says it's expecting big crowds over the long weekend at Devil's Lake State Park. Alternatives include Mirror Lake, Governor Dodge, Natural Bridge State Park, Pike Lake, and the Great Sauk Trail. I'm Jane Matnair. This is Civic Media News.
This Memorial Day weekend, the employees of Champions Pub invite you to join them in pausing to remember the price all veterans have paid to keep us free. Check out Champions Pub at 2417 North Bartlett Avenue or go to www.championspub.com and have a great holiday.
Man, this house is in need of a few upgrades. Windows, doors, even the basement needs a little TLC. With the Inflation Reduction Act, you can have all these assessed and addressed. It's there for you. Doesn't matter the age or condition. Call Green Homeowners United, the only woman-owned, union-affiliated residential energy efficiency firm in Milwaukee County. They'll take you through the journey of getting an energy-efficient and beautiful home. Claim all your discounts. Call 414-604-6450. That's 414-604-6450.
Images are everywhere, on iPads, cell phones, or the cloud. In fact, everywhere but where you can find them. Mike Crivello Camera and Imaging Center has the solution to this problem. They're called pictures, and we print them right from our website. And you order them online at MikeCrivellos.com. And they look magnificent in your photo album.
Mike Crivello's world is a wonderful world of camera.
It's not a picture till it's printed.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. And we're talking about whether or not you want unbiased news. Because CNN and The Messenger are trying to reach the middle, trying to be unbiased. And an article I found in Vox is saying, well, I don't know if that's the best business model because of, along with generally our Americans decline in how much news they consume, but also the news that they do consume comes with a bit of a slant.
In some cases, more than just a bit.
In some cases, more than just a bit. But it's also interesting because, and so we're asking you, if you're being honest with yourself and where you get your news from, do you tend to enjoy hearing it from people that tend to also be outraged by the same things as you?
844-967-2789, 844-96-party.
And because one of the things that the article points out, that's another problem with the idea or the claim that Americans want unbiased news is a truth in labeling problem. It's that it's not that Americans think news is biased. It's people who lean Republican.
Really?
So Democrats, by and large, think the news they get from existing outlets is reasonably trustworthy. As they got that from a YouGov poll that I can link from in today's show notes, and it replicates a similar one that was conducted about a year ago. And it's really Republicans who distrust almost all outlets that aren't explicitly aimed at them, like OAN.
Yeah.
And Fox and Newsmax. Even Messenger's own poll that purports to show a hunger for unbiased news underscores this. 55% of Democrats think coverage of their own party is fair, whereas only 19% of Republicans said the same.
Wow, that's quite a disparity. Well done, Fox News and OAN and Newsmax, and you have convinced people that you are the only ones they can trust. Way to go.
Yeah, I thought and the truth is, but it is a conundrum, right? As far as how do you, I don't know if this is how I want to phrase it. How do you get those people back?
I don't know that you can.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can. Again, if all they want is a diet of ice cream, even though it's bad for you, I don't know how you convince someone who's my age to start working in some veggies. It's just, especially when they've been given a diet of hot fudge sundaes. For how long has Fox been on the air? How many decades?
I mean, they also started in the late 80s.
I think so, yeah.
So similar timing as CNN. I mean, CNN was first, but not long after that. And it's interesting because then it's such a easy out of every time you read an article that you don't like. Well, it's biased.
Well, right.
Especially with something like the Journal Sentinel, because it's like I probably read more of the comment section than I should of the Journal Sentinel because sometimes it's my videos. But every time it's a reporting on what Ron Johnson said, or I don't think they've written on this yet, but we do have a clip of Glenn Grothman's. I don't want to play it yet. We'll save it. But Glenn Grothman,
and Oshkosh, we need to talk. we really need to have a chat.
But it's interesting, and so and I've been in these conversations of how do you reach people who are now saying the Journal Sentinel is biased, or and trying to be people who are moderate, trying to people who are center right, and but while still maintaining journalistic integrity. And we like for a little while before this show started, and we were trying to continue doing some innovative stuff with Journal Sentinel beyond just the videos I was making. I had this idea of doing a series called For Your Consideration, which is where we would get, in the same way a traditional op-ed column would work, where people from the community write an opinion piece advocating for something. It would be the same thing, but it would be a video. And so it'd be like 1 to 2 minutes advocating for an idea that you think moves Wisconsin or the city of Milwaukee forward. We did a handful of them. It was hard. What I would say is that was hard to get off the ground, because trying to get people who don't work for you to stick to a deadline and give them critical feedback on their script and performance was well, yeah, this sounded better in my head. But we did do a handful of them. And one of the ones we did, because we were trying to be as when Roe got overturned, and my take for the videos that I do once a week over there was this is unleashed chaos. And it has, right? In the fact that it's every state is up in the air,
Absolutely.
The amount of lawsuits, who's actually executing these laws, all this different stuff. And so I stand by the take that I had. And we invited the executive director of
Wisconsin Rise of Life.
Yeah. And she was lovely. She was a lovely woman. She brought all 4 of her kids to Journal Sentinel, which I thought that was on brand.
Only 4.
And two are twins, to be fair. But she was on, and I swear to God, she was lovely. She was charismatic. And the angle that she took was, we have to support women even more now. And there was a lot of people in the comment section once that video went up, but also a lot of journalists at Journal Sentinel who were not happy that we platformed her. And because I think it was because some of the things that she said in her script were misleading as far as how much support that group is giving to women, which is fair. That is a fair criticism. But I don't think that we shouldn't. I still stand by that we shouldn't just shut the door and not invite people from those different organizations to contribute to the newspaper or to the op-ed section. And again, because it's the op-ed section. And I think a part of this is also our declining ability to differentiate between news and opinion. And I had this experience yesterday. So my video for Journal Sentinel this past week was about Melissa Temple, who is the Waukesha first grade teacher, who's sounds like potentially is going to lose her job.
Yes.
After she raised the flag of Rainbow Land being,
Banned.
nixed from the school spring concert. And, and I list off all of her credentials, and it's like, in a teacher shortage, is this really the person you're trying to fire? And I got a message because it got posted yesterday. I got a DM saying, just I'll do as much dripping sarcasm as I feel like he intended.
Oh, fabulous.
LOL. You definitely don't bring any bias to the Journal Sentinel. Thank you for being so impartial and simply relating facts of the story, like facepalm emoji. And I just wrote back, I said, I'm an opinion contributor. It's literally in my title. And I wanted to send him my LinkedIn and be like, I have a radio talk show. Like, I literally get paid to give my opinion on things. And then he wrote back as, interesting, wasn't aware, appreciate the response.
Yeah, gee, you'd have to actually read what it says in her bio that she's an opinion contributor. So reading comprehension is apparently an issue.
But because the thing is, if you watch the video, because there is a certain amount of sarcasm in my video, as there usually is, and you don't realize that it's a series that is an opinion series, and you do think that it's just the Journal Sentinel putting this is the facts of the story. But media literacy is important.
Yes, definitely. 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Do you want your news, if you're honest with yourself, to be completely unbiased? Text from the 262, I just want to be told the truth. That's all I want.
Yeah. I got a message on Twitter on the topic. The idea that news even can be unbiased is ridiculous. Writers, reporters have biases. So do their editors. Viewers, listeners, readers also have their own biases. We need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge that and learn that to think critically about how those biases shape both the sending and receiving of news. Without doing that, you fall into a dogmatic belief of anything you're told, whether it comes from Fox News, MSNBC, or anything in between.
But again, not everything is debatable.
Yeah.
There are things that just are, like gravity.
You know what thing that just is? The speech that Glenn Grothman gave on the floor of the Congress yesterday.
Oh,
so we don't even have that much time to get into it, which is fine because I don't want to open the floodgates on a Friday about identity politics. But just, when we talk about sending our best and our brightest and our most well-dressed to Congress, I also saw that because, a couple weeks ago or two, was it just last week when John Fetterman, there was a debate online.
Did he wear a hoodie?
He wore a hoodie and cargo shorts to one of the press conferences where everyone else was in a suit and people had thoughts. And I saw someone reply being like, have you seen what Glenn Grothman wears on a daily basis?
Usually wears tennies.
And just nothing fits him. Just nothing. Man has never seen a tailor in his life.
Which is kind of shocking because doesn't he still live with his mother? I would think that she would be more involved.
I'm still unclear if they still live together. And I think there's an important differentiation between, does he live with her? Does she live with him?
Yes, that is important. I'll give you that.
But let's just roll what he did yesterday.
A study was done a little while ago on the federal judiciary. I wish we had these studies for all other appointments by the Biden administration. And apparently his first 2 years, President Biden had appointed 97 federal judges. Of the 97 federal judges, I was expecting maybe 25 or 30 were white guys, because I know President Biden wasn't heavy on appointing more white guys. 5 of the 97 judges were white guys. Of those, 2 were gay. So almost impossible for a white guy who's not gay, apparently, to get appointed here.
Yep, that's what it is, Glenn.
Just
those
poor straight white guys.
The struggle.
So underrepresented. Meanwhile, I saw one graph. There was many thoughts and responses to this. But the racial diversity of the courts right now, based on the American Constitution Society. Granted, this doesn't say men versus women. How many do you think are white?
Percentage-wise?
Yes.
93%.
No, it is lower than that.
Okay, 86.
A little bit lower.
74.
A little bit higher.
77.
73.
Okay.
So 73 is white, 12% is black, 8.6 is Latino, 4% is Asian, and then 2 or more races and Native American make up about less than 1.5%. So
the struggle for straight white men continues.
Well, especially straight white men at the top. And because there's 2 different conversations to have that we're not going to finish today because we have about a minute left. There is something going on with men, specifically in America, the average man, as far as college completion rates, college enrollment rates, jobs, and that can't be conflated with the men at the top who are above average of everything else. And so there's a much deeper conversation, but it's just the fact that that's what Glenn used his time for yesterday was, we're always so proud.
Gosh, we got to talk.
All right, when we come back, we'll do the headline quiz of the week. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Care Network, they can help. Their outpatient clinic staff are both qualified and caring, not to mention highly trained in partnering with you on your healing journey. Make an appointment today at wellpointcare.org. They serve all ages, infants, children, and adults. Both in-person and virtual services are available. Learn more at wellpointcare.org.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love Party Packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm Charlie Barons, inviting you to join me Saturdays and or Sundays at noon. It's a horse apiece, whatever you decide. We're doing the Cripes Cast, where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest, and it's more fun than a 6-pack of Jolly Good. Okay, the pride of Random Lake that Jolly Good is. Anyway, it's on your Civic Media station and the Civic Media app. And do me a favor, tell your folks I says hi. Okay, real good.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Sunny skies and calm this afternoon with highs around 69. Winds out of the east, 8 to 15 miles an hour. Mainly clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 42. High temperatures reach up to 74. Tomorrow, bright sunshine expected. Upper 70s Sunday. Warmer on Monday with highs in the upper 70s. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 63 degrees.
I came to test. I'm gonna pass cause I'm the best. I'm rocking this from east to west. Ride it out, then I can rest.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And it is time for our weekly news quiz. All right, let's just get the ball rolling.
Okay.
All right. Why did Boston University's class of 2023 heckle their commencement speaker, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO, David Zaslav?
Oh, it was amazing. Because they told him to pay your writers.
Pay your writers.
Yeah.
The options were HBO Max becoming just Max, J.K. Rowling controversy, CNN's recent Trump town hall, Hollywood writers strike. I think we know that it's D. All right, number 2. Which clothing retailer's stock jumped 31% on Wednesday after dropping a surprise profit report?
Oh, I know this one.
A. J. Crew, B. Shein, C. Abercrombie and Fitch, D. Rue 24.
Oh, it's not who I thought. Give them to me again.
J. Crew, Shein, Abercrombie and Fitch, Rue 24.
I'll say Shein.
All right. I think it's Abercrombie.
Okay.
But you're taking the quiz. So all right. Number 3. Fill in the blank. The U.S. Surgeon General said our children have become unknowing participants in a decades-long experiment because of A, vaping, B, social media, C, gun violence, D, COVID-19.
In this instance, it was social media.
Probably all of them. But there's probably an argument to be made of all of them. But what was the actual fact of what was said?
There you go.
Because facts matter.
Facts do matter.
By the way, Fancy Brian did text us during the break to remind us that gravity is a theory.
Fancy Brian. We're going to have a chat.
Number 4. What sea creatures appear to be working together in an effort to sink boats off Europe's Iberian coast? A, whales, B, octopi, C, orcas, D, dolphins.
Those naughty orcas. Not happy.
And then number 5, the recent purchase of a $200 million Malibu mansion was California's most expensive home sale ever. Which power couple bought it? Jay-Z and Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle.
Beyonce and Jay-Z.
All right, let's see how you did. You got 4 out of 5.
Oh, so I screwed up the clothing one.
You did screw up the clothing one. That was the only one, though. But so Boston University's graduating class heckled Zaslav over the writer's strike. I love watching the writer's strike, like the pictures that come out of the different celebrities and people and like all the great signs. And truly, we went out to dinner last night with friend of the show, Joe Specky, and his wife, Melissa. And we always, whenever we double date, we always compare notes of like what shows we're watching. And Joe, if you're listening, we said this last night, so we'll say it again. You're a nerd. And so he writes down. I don't know if he writes down and also gives the show a grade, but he has it like documented as far as the shows that they're watching and will watch next.
Oh, wow.
And we were talking about it. It's like how much good TV there is. And it's like AI cannot do this. Like the ability of writers to do what they do, especially the really good ones. And it's not just for TV shows. It's like, it's also like writing good, like if you read something that you think is written by AI for some clickbaity article versus an article that's actually like The Atlantic, and like writing is a skill and not everyone can do it. And certainly at least where we are right now, AI can't do it either. And so pay your writers.
Yes, absolutely. For pity's sake, as you said, AI is not going to be going to be able to replace them. I don't know.
AI is not writing Succession.
Well, and I don't know how you teach humor and
subtlety
and sarcasm and innuendo. And there are just so many nuances.
But it's also any actor worth their salt will tell you their ability to give a performance is directly linked to how good the writing is.
Of course, if it's a terrible script, what are you going to do with it?
I know. And so, all right, number 2, it was Abercrombie. Abercrombie has made a comeback.
Wow.
And so Abercrombie was, it was veiled in controversy for a long time as far as like sexual assault. And also just like when I was coming up, Abercrombie was the store of like this sexy shirtless men and everyone was white. And it was like very sex driven and everything said Abercrombie. And now it's there's no logo, but yeah, they had a really good quarter, I guess.
All right.
The Surgeon General issued a warning about young people in social media. Orcas are working together to sink boats off the Iberian coast. And yes, Jay-Z and Beyonce bought the Malibu home for $200 million. So there's your news quiz for the week. All right. Well, any other headlines that you feel like are important? Oh, I have one to share. I don't have much to say beyond the fact that a new PAC ad for DeSantis.
Yes.
They added fake fighter jets to the launch video.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So the super PAC supporting Ron DeSantis's presidential campaign altered footage to include the sound and sight of fighter jets flying over the Florida governor in his video promoting his campaign launch. And the PAC is called Never Back Down, and the commercial is called A President for the People. And it includes a scene where DeSantis is raising his arm to the sky in front of a U.S. flag while jets appear to fly above him. But the actual video, the source material, is a video of DeSantis' speech from November 2022. And there was from that time, there was no military, there was no military flyover during the event. And so
little poetic license there.
So, even more, facts. Now with AI, we need even more people being like, nope, that is altered. All right. Well, when we come back, Todd Alba's going to join us for the hour.
I am so excited.
I'm very excited. We have two really fun topics that we would love to continue to get your thoughts on. So the first half of the hour, we're going to talk about, when did you start noticing your age? When did you start feeling old? Basically. And then at the bottom of the hour, would you get a brain chip? Because yesterday, Elon Musk's brain implant company got their first approval to launch its first in-human clinical trial for brain chips.
That's going to have some really remarkable
outcomes. So one, would you do it? And two, what would you hope that it does for you? So we're going to be talking about both those topics with Todd Alba of the Todd Alba